Hi there, welcome to the Hands Up for Trad afternoon show. How are you all today? It's good to see that lockdown is getting a little bit better for some of us, not for people in Murray, unfortunately. And I'm sure that the public will be very happy to see that you can finally drink in pubs, because I don't know if anyone's tried going outside at the moment. It's freezing. The pubs near me have been quite busy outside. I just don't know how they do it. Well, good luck with that to all the publicans. And it's great that the cinemas and that are opening. It's good for all the young people. All the young people, they've got somewhere to go. I just got a couple of plugs I want to make. Friday the 14th, this Friday, is World Play a Strathspey Day, and we would love to see everyone learning or playing a strathspey and making a wee video or audio recording and putting it on social media. Also this weekend we have Claire Gullen's Strathspey and Rio weekend. That is a weekend of workshops, and that's going to be fantastic, 14th to 16th. And finally, as I mentioned the last couple of weeks, we have a brilliant concert on Friday night, and it's a late night concert, 10 p.m, and it features many musicians, including Innes Watson, Adam Sutherland, Megan Henderson, Kristen Harvey, and many more. And you can find out about that concert and Claire's weekend at handsupfortradmusicclub.co.uk. As ever, please tell us where you're watching from. If you've got any wee stories, type them in the comments. Innes loves a little story. So please welcome my guest today, fiddler, guitarist, composer, singer, man of many facial expressions and funny voices, Innes Watson.
Thank you. Hello.
I mean, you are all of these things, Innes.
All of these wonderful things you mentioned. Yeah, I told my mum once that I've made a career now out of making silly noises, and she couldn't believe it, because it was one of those things mothers don't like when you're growing up.
Well, you're in Skye today. What's the weather like?
The weather's lovely. The sun is poking through the clouds, and there's wee patches of rain as ever to keep the flowers happy. So it's lovely.
Well, before we get started today, we've got a great video from flautist and Uilleann piper Callum Stewart. It's called The Seven Men of Glen Morriston, and it features loads of great playing and some even better dancing. great, actually. Very, very good. Callum, of course, lives in Brittany, in France. That sounds like a nice place to be.
Yeah, definitely. Great
So,
music scene there.
oh, yeah, absolutely. All your Millard brothers and everything. It's been an amazing place for music over many years now.
Hmm.
So, Innes, where did it all start for you? Was there music in your house growing up?
There was indeed, yeah. My dad played guitar and sang folk songs, and my mum joined him every now and again. And then Laurie started the fiddle. My dad put a guitar in my hands at about 4.5, 5 years old, which was great, but I couldn't really, you know, do much other than play along with his songs for a while until Laurie started the fiddle. And yeah, we always had music in the house.
What kind of music was it?
Well, we listened to everything. It was a real eclectic mix on the car stereo and at home, but mainly folk folk stuff. Mum had a penchant for 80s rock classics. She loved like Donna Summers and all that. So, um, but yeah, we luckily in the Borders, we moved to the Borders when I was about 5 or 6, and there were lots of people in the Borders that played music. So we got in tow with them and started a big band that some people may have heard of called the Small Halls Band. Small Hall Band is actually its name, but colloquially known as the Small Halls Band because it played in small halls. And we did Kayleys and all sorts. So I learned loads through that, and that kind of set me on the path.
I love a bit of Donna Summer myself. I have to say their disco tracks are fantastic. I could go a
Indeed.
bit of that just now. That'd be great. And
Why not stick on next?
did you so you had the guitar at 4.5. When did the fiddle come along then?
Fiddle came along. I stole most of my sister's toys. Um, it was the younger brother thing to do. I think most younger siblings do that. And the fiddle was the one I stole when I reached primary five, I think it was, primary 4 or 5, 7 years old. I started with a fiddle as well. And um, yeah, so watched her every move from then on and tried to steal everything I could.
And do you have a favourite instrument?
I don't. I don't have a favorite. I've favored the guitar for a long time because there were less of us, but now that has flipped, and I think there are loads of guitars. So it's fine. I'm finding it harder to find a space in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, the voice has been a focus of mine recently. I've started actually singing songs and um starting to make the voice more of what I do in general. And obviously the grit orchestra thing, I was very fortunate to be making stupid noises when Greg Lawson came round to visit Ross Ainsley. I lived with him in Glasgow, and Ross Ainsley was trying out Ouds to do that track Oud the Duduk, and yeah, I was making silly noises as I made cups of tea with a broken wrist. So I wasn't playing at the time as well. So I got hired to make silly noises, which was lovely.
I mean, it's interesting. You talk about fiddle and guitar and your spaces because, I mean, to me, you're incredibly good at both of them. You've got great technique. You're just a great player. You must have put in a lot of work to get to that standard.
Yeah, definitely did. We were trained classically, I guess, with the Suzuki method through school systems and stuff. So there's a lot of the technique is in there, and listening to a lot of Irish music, my ornamentation from quite an early age kind of picked up. So um, yeah, technically, I think I've done the groundwork. But yeah, the finding a space is tricky because there's so many fiddle players and guitarists, and it's one of those things that I found a space accompanying fiddle tunes and other instrumentation, because I understood the tunes quite well, and as far as I was concerned, anyway, I could support it. well enough for people to enjoy. But yeah, the virtuoso thing has never really been one of my fortes. You know, sitting down and playing the guitar completely solo is still a very daunting thing for me. But it's something I've tackled.
And what was your first band?
First band was my my family. Actually, my dad was very adamant that all four of us should be in a band, so that would be my first band. Played with my sister Laurie, and me would play fiddles, and we'd all sing. And Mum even tried her hand at the bowring for a bit. Um, yeah, until she got fed up of it.
So you were a bit
Um,
like a sort of mini Capercaillie.
yeah, really mini one. But that we obviously Laurie and me went on leaps and bounds very quickly, with her playing, and we wanted to play with other people. So, but that was the very, very first band I was part of.
The Watson family band.
Yeah.
But we're going to watch a video because you talk about Laurie a lot, and you played in her band The Rule of Three.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good. I say this every week that looking through videos for this program I love it because you just see all the different things that have been going on, and there's lots of videos of Laurie and The Rule of Three. And this track here is the song Maggie, and you're playing at a folk club, and one of the beauties of it, you'll hear this at home, is everybody singing along to the chorus.
Yeah, this was.
Oh, what will all the lads do when Maggie gangs away? Oh, what will all the lads do when Maggie gangs away? There's no hurt in all this land that does not dream the day. Oh, what will all the lads do when Maggie gangs away? Let's go again. This time, everybody. Oh, what will all the lads do when Maggie gangs away? Oh, what will all the lads do when Maggie gangs away? There's no hurt in all this land that does not drink the day. Oh, what will all the lads do when Maggie gangs away?
You were saying that that's your number one hit, Innes.
Yeah, that was Laurie Watson and Rule of Three's number one for many years. Yeah, it was kind of the first big one that everyone obviously joins in there, which is lovely.
It's nice. I like the way that Laurie says, "Let's try again, sing it again." It was just a really nice moment.
Yeah,
I want to
she
say
was
hello
good,
to a few people that are watching. Vincent Carlin, good afternoon from Leeds. Anne, one of Innes's biggest fans. Well, I've just added the word biggest there. So thanks for watching, Anne. And David from Cheshire. Gail from East End of Glasgow. Innes is one of the multi-talented good guys. And there's
thank you.
Kirsten from Denmark. So, Innes, as we were talking about before the show, this is Mental Health Week. And, we've talked about it, and you've talked about this quite a lot during lockdown. Has lockdown affected how you've been feeling about things?
Yeah, quite adversely, to be honest, and not in the way I was expecting. So I'm a long sufferer of mental health problems, and the more I read about them, the more I learn about them, the the more I know of my history with them. So a lot of them were developing when I was a young child and through teenage years and stuff, but we weren't really aware of things like that at those times. So yeah, I've been learning loads about them, and just before COVID hit, actually, I was in one of the lowest points, I think, mental health wise. due to a lot of my own issues that I wasn't helping myself very much with, like working too much, not working enough, planning an organization where we're taking a back seat a lot of the time, and lots of good times were had. So yeah, it didn't leave me with much capacity to deal with stuff. However, when COVID hit, I was actually blessed with time that I quote this Bill Hicks line from one of his shows where the train is going so fast, and you can choose. I think he was talking about suicide, funnily enough, but that isn't what the way I thought about it. But the train goes so fast, and you can choose to get off, but the train keeps going. Whereas I think COVID happened, the train rolled into a station and stayed there for repair. So the world stopped turning, and there was a bit of time and space to reflect and understand how I actually felt. And I think a lot of people in the scene perhaps felt the same. Others were hit really hard in that they stuck in a city, perhaps didn't have the things that they held on to keep them sane. But yeah, I was blessed, I have to say, and I moved to Skye shortly after that, um, for good, because it was the best thing for my head at the time. So yeah,
And
positive.
what kind of actions can we all be doing to help other people?
Well, I was thinking about this today. There's a thing about discussion. Like when people ask how you are, a lot of the time I've definitely found that I put on a front. So I'm probably doing it just now. In fact, I woke up today in a terrible state, and just went about my day. And I've got lots of things in place to stop mental health from stopping my capacity to deal with things. However, when I've got things in place to deal with that, but when we talk to other people, if you ask how they are, a lot of the time they'll say, we've got that classic, "So how you doing?" And you say, "Yeah, yeah, okay," or "Not bad," or whatever. And then a lot of the time in conversation, we ask again, "So how are you?" And it's like a subliminal thing that we're actually wanting to know how someone is. So talking to each other is a great thing, but also just sitting with, radio silence is a tough thing for us, especially when you're on a show such as this. You don't want to be sitting in silence. But it's one of the best things that I found with my friend, late great Fraser Shaw. Actually, the friendship was so strong, and I realized this when we could just sit in a room together and not talk, um, and we felt comfortable in that silence, and didn't need to express how we felt, or talk about rubbish. You just sat with our own thoughts and sat together. So that's quite important as well. Contact with people, not specifically asking them how they are and divulging all this terrible information that they're processing all the time anyway, um but just sitting, just being with other people, which hopefully we'll get back to soon.
Oh, please. I mean, you've actually had been done quite a few things over lockdown. I mean, you made this fabulous album, Shh, I'm on the Phone. Tell everyone
Yeah.
how you recorded that album.
Well, that I was locked down in a hotel in Skye, and all I had with me were instruments. One of which was a brand new guitar that I, I hadn't really played much, but I didn't have any recording gear or any of that. And with all that time, other than sorting out all my tax returns and everything, my tax is now fully up to date, and it feels amazing to have sorted that. But other than that, dealing with that and dealing with the stresses of COVID just being a thing, I had music, which I was very fortunate to have, but I didn't have anything to record it on other than my phone. So I realized quickly that the phone microphone was actually really good quality. And so I started recording an album, and I got Andrea Gobby, who had very quickly sorted out his setup so that he could do on remote recording sessions, basically. So he fortunately was up to speed on that very quickly and helped me through it. So got a whole album recorded on the iPhone microphone.
And how did you put it all together? Would you like record a track on the phone and then put it onto your computer and then record again?
Yeah, fortunately I had my laptop, but I didn't have an interface or anything to be plugging in. I couldn't do a normal recording session where you would sit and do takes and all that. So but I ended up, it's a really roundabout way of doing it, and it took a lot more time, but I did do takes with my iPhone and then airdropped it to my laptop and then worked within Logic 10, which is a recording software that worked quite well for that. So I ended up using the same technique as I would in a recording studio in the end, but just didn't have the ease of recording over and over and over to get things right. So it's a bit rough around the edges because of that, because I couldn't be bothered listening to myself over and over, getting it right.
Well, I think you're giving yourself a bit of a hard time there because it is a great album. I have to say, I loved it. I've played it quite a few times on our Footstomping podcast. In fact, I'm going to play it again on Tuesday now that we're talking about it. And you would never know that it's recorded on the phone. I mean, if you want to find out more, here we go. inneswatson.bandcamp.com. It's worth it for the price of the cover as well.
Yeah, that picture was I actually have it here. I have this phone that basically reminded me of the phone that I used for I, which was Martin Bennett's track. Was on the phone, and so I used that as the cover as well. I thought it was quite nice to tie all that in.
And there's some great colour going on. There's quite a lot of pink.
Did I put pink in there? I think I tried to make it beige, but this is, lockdown.
Pink is the new beige.
That's a fridge magnet. Yes, pink is the new beige.
We've actually got a wee video of you that I picked up. It's one of these videos where you play all together on your, I think it might be still on your phone. It's Caw the Youse. It's really funny because it starts off with this two beautiful guitar bits of playing, and then you come in singing in a car or something.
Yeah, that was one of those on location things. I had to leave after I had to leave the hotel to go and get shopping or something, and after doing the guitar parts, I thought I can carry on. I mean, it's all on the phone anyway, so I just took it with me and finished that video in the car. It's using Acapella, which is a great app that a lot of us have found useful. Duncan Chisholm's been using it a lot as well. Yeah.
Well, it's a great bit of background noise. Let's have a watch. Is that the brand new guitar?
Yes, that's the filed. I've forgotten what it's called actually.
Guitar?
A filed guitar. That's right, 6-string guitar.
It looks very
Falstaff, that's what it's called.
Falstaff. It looks very shiny.
Yes, it's a little less shiny now, but yes, still good.
Are you still happy with it after a year of playing it?
Yeah, I am really happy with it. I play filed Alexanders, and I have done for years. That one in the video, the first video, was my first Alexander the First, I call it, and then I got an Alexander the Second, a custom model, and I still go back to them because it's a shorter scale neck, and they just feel so nice, and they're the kind of model that they developed my playing more than another guitar might. So this one, though, the new one, is definitely a studio guitar. It doesn't buzz or make any clunky noises and stuff when you hit the strings. It's a good guitar for studio work.
Amazing. Let's chat about the Treacherous Orchestra. How did that band start?
Well, we were all playing sessions all the time in Glasgow. Everyone was part of the session scene in some way, shape, or form. We'd all known each other for years, and the Treacherous Orchestra was an idea born out of a night where Croft Number 5 didn't have a gig and other people didn't have a gig at Celtic Connections. I think I was a little bit of an interloper because I did have a gig, but I still attended Treachery, which was the night Treason. That was what it was called, the Night of Treason. And the band kind of the idea was started there, but then the actual personnel was decided after the Isle of Rum festival, Sound of Rum, which ran for only 3 years, and it was a fantastic wee festival full of mentals playing, great music there. They had Salsa Celtica and Croft Number 5 to the gig, and I think Ross Ainsley and Ali Hutton were there in 2 different formats as well. So we all just got a gig there, and that was the lineup decided. So,
and how does it? Was it 12 musicians, 13 musicians?
It fluctuated. 13 originally, 13 plus a sound guy, and then we lost Bojangham to his world. He just stopped playing the flute as much, and he had to concentrate on chefing up in Aviemore, and then so we were one flute down, and the arc, the idea of two by two, they went into the arc was an original thing for the gig on Rum, and so gradually, sections halved themselves, but it fluctuated from 11 to 13.
And
13 was the magic number.
How did a band like that come up with arrangements? We're going to watch the video from the Ortiguero Festival, and the arrangements of these first 2 albums that you made, the fabulous 2 albums that. The arrangements are really involved. How did you come up with that with so many people?
Well, it was a really long process of elimination. So we all had really strong ideas, and we'd put material forward. The tune writers among us would put material forward, and we'd play about with it, learn the arrangement, play about with ideas that bounce off the arrangement. So chord structures. Duncan Lyle was always really meticulous in finding the right chord structure, and then finding the right feel, and then also the iterations of variation on chord structures thereafter. And all of that, while that was going on, we would always have ideas jumping out of our minds, and but it was quite a long and arduous process at points. But to be honest, the 2 albums that we made were the material that's on there. We've got loads of other material that we never worked, never made it to the albums, but the material that's on there is all like the nth degree of trial has been definitely used before we reach the final product. So
I remember when I first saw the band that it really was a shot in the arm to the folk scene at that time. It was amazing to see all you guys on the stage with the movement, and your outfits were amazing as well. Tell us what we used to wear for the Treacherous Orchestra.
Well, I used to wear goggles. I had they called them Bigglesworth goggles or something. They were aviator goggles, and we had like old pipe band jackets with all the the shoulder pieces and buttons and all that. And Doc Marten boots. I had knee-high Doc Marten boots that me and Adam wore. But yeah, everyone kind of took a take on that kind of steampunk idea, and it changed somewhat. I started wearing lights when we had more electronic music in it. I would have flashy lights all over me as well. But yeah, definitely, the whole thing had its place at that time. I think Treacherous Orchestra did move things forward in a kind of popular fashion within the scene, which was great at the time. Now it's so good that we're on hiatus, because when we all got together, it was carnage, like so much fun a lot of the time. And I'm glad we've all kind of settled down a wee bit now, but it was great to do we did one gig. I can't even remember where it was, but one gig recently before COVID happened, and it was so good to just get back and to do that. Where it was one of the big fests, Wickham or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, I think one of the things that makes this next video you talked about outwear is your pink hat that you're wearing. It's it's
I don't remember this.
Now let's have a look. Let's everyone spot the pink hat. You were saying that gig started about 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, we went on stage at 4 or half 4 a.m. and it didn't. Yeah, it started about the whole thing. Festival day started about 10:30 or 11, the music, and then carried on till 6 in the morning. So madness.
Oh yeah, it looks lots of fun. We could do with a bit of that here. Imagine a few all-night gigs, outside gigs. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would. If the weather would only hold out for us, that would be great.
Yeah. Oh well, it was a good idea while it lasted.
I don't mind playing in the rain, but there's instruments that just don't like the moisture, isn't there?
Yeah, it's being in the audience as part of the rain is more worry, isn't it? If you're on stage, you've usually got some kind of cover.
Well, yeah, no one really matters. It doesn't matter to a lot of people at Glastonbury or anything. They love a muddy year, don't they?
Well, that's very true. One of your recent collaborators has been Jarlath Henderson. Yeah. And I remember you telling me what a fabulous time in the US you had on tour with him.
That's right, yeah. I've played with Jarlath for for years. It was shortly after him and Ross did their album Partners in Crime that I started hanging out with Jar and playing tunes. He calls me my brother from another mother, because we kind of looked similar at points over the years. He's a lot more distinguished looking now. But yeah, we have a great time. The music's always been really good. I think Jarlath's a very unique musical force. He's got a lot of tradition under his belt, and really not afraid to push things a wee bit as well. So yeah, it was lovely doing a tour. We were out for a month in the US and saw loads of brilliant places. I'd never been to the US, and I actually said I'd never tour the US. And then Darla said, "Do you want to tour the US?" And I said, "Yes." So definitely, yeah, something I'd like to go back and do again.
I remember you telling me how much you loved the audiences.
Yeah, they're all very friendly. Not as friendly as Canada, funnily enough, but I mean, they love their traditional music there, and really, yeah, just they're not afraid to speak to you, and
And clap very loudly.
indeed, yes, there's a lot of clapping, luckily for us.
Yeah, I remember when I first visited the States many years ago, and I was just, no one had cheered for me before.
All of a sudden, they like what you do, and you think people actually come out to things like that. It's funny that in Scotland we're blessed to have Celtic connections, but when you put a gig on, you will have the hardcore few, but if you get lots of people at your audiences, a lot of them are like, "Oh, I didn't know this happened in Scotland," that happens all the time.
So also this year, you've been releasing a few different kind of tracks. You've released an electronic dance track. I don't know, does that sound really old when you say that?
Yeah, I thought that as well. This is an electronic track, and it feels funny because I think electronics are now used in trad music. The Moog synthesizer for bass is commonplace now. Bands like Nightworks and Elephant Sessions and all those that came after the kind of resurgence, but and then there's also Pete Bug Fairies have been using electronic music for years, and it's commonplace now, which is good. But I think I've always felt guilty that I'm sitting at a computer making noises, and then even though they come from my brain and I make the decision on where they're going to go, etc., but then to release that, it's always felt really fake for me because I play real instruments, and a lot of the time in the tradition, that's what people want to hear is real instruments and mistakes and real human being stuff. But if you listen to dance music, it's all programmed stuff, and it's great, and there's even the vocals are programmed to be beyond recognition of a vocal, and that's totally acceptable. So I think that should be acceptable now in in traditional music for sure.
Do you ever use a loop pedal?
Yeah, I've used loop pedals quite a bit. I found it hard because I've played in bands with other people mostly. I found it really hard to sync up. You need some clock on stage, MIDI clock time stuff. I don't really understand, but you need that to sync up all the pedals at the right time if you're going to be doing that kind of looping thing. I don't know how Ed Sheeran does it. Do you know that? Because when I when I write an arrangement, it has to change so much throughout it that I mean I've done it a wee bit for my live streams recently where I'll record the guitar part all the way through, and I'm bored. I'm sitting playing the guitar part and bored of what I'm hearing because there's no melody. But then you go back and you pick up a fiddle and you play the melody over it, and people seem to be okay with that. But I always think it's hang on, bear with me while I set this up. It's like you can't really do that in a gig. But some people get away with it.
We were
I
chatting
think
to Tim.
simplicity's the way forward with that. Sorry.
I was chatting to Tim Eady about his, because I think he's great at the old loop pedal, and he was saying that he doesn't do anything complicated with it at all. And I know he plays solo a lot, so that does make life a little bit easier. You're not trying to work with other people.
Definitely, yeah. I think I'm working on it, working on being comfortable. I think that the main thing is if you're comfortable doing it. Like I can work with a loop pedal now fairly, without too much issue. But when you have to put a guitar down and pick up a fiddle, you need to factor in time for that. So a lot of the arrangements that I would do with a looper they're not the same as the arrangement you would do with other people, because other people can play while you're doing something else. But the loop station, you kind of have to factor in these moments like an intro, and then you have to go back to the intro because that's at the start of the loop. And then so you have to finish with the intro in some way. So it becomes formulaic, and you start to just sound the same every time. So yeah, I'm still working on that though.
That's the point where you bring out the Moog, of course.
Of course. Well, there was a point when I did the Wee Dafty from my Guitar Colloquium album, and one of my live streams, I ended up, I've got this big bag of percussion here, full of like stuff. And I just started picking out things and shaking along and that was great because it ended ridiculous and silly, and it felt quite normal, rather than finishing on a single note after you've stopped the loop pedal from playing.
There's a guy you should check out. I don't know if you've seen him before. His name's Mark Rebillet. I don't know how you say it. Rebillet. And he's a keyboard player working with a loop station, and he does weekly live broadcasts completely improvised. And he's a bit mental, I have to say, and his language could be better for any young people out there. But he is amazing at it.
Yeah, I think I've seen his videos recently, and yeah, I think that the way that some people can be, where they're just on and excited themselves and excitable, and their head manages to work through that feeling. I think that's like him and Tim Eady. They look totally into it and they're doing it, and they come across really, really well like that. But I've had to like tone that down for my mental health. And my brain doesn't work. Like when I'm playing one tune, I can't think about another one, just because of the way my brain works. So not everyone can just be like, rah, yes, and make it amazing. But it takes practice as well, which is something I haven't got into yet. So,
well, to finish off, Innes, we've got one more video, and it's you playing as part of the Jarlath Henderson band, and it was originally recorded for the Shirham program on BBC Alba, and I think it's from Jarlath's Courting is a Pleasure album, and it might even be that the title track. Should have written that down.
The track of that, the title of that album is it's Heart something.
Oh, Hearts Up, Turn Down or something.
Heart. What is it again? That's terrible. I've forgotten.
Yes.
Let's say that's the title track. Yes.
But let's watch a video because it's really great, actually.
Courting is a pleasure between my love and I, and it's down in yonder valleys I will meet her by and by. It's down in yonder valleys, she is my heart's delight. And it's with you, lovely Molly, I will stay the broad daylight. Going to church on Sunday, my love, she passed me by, and I knew her mind was altered by the roving of her eye. I knew her mind was altered by a lad of high degree. Oh, Molly, lovely Molly, your looks have wounded me.
Fantastic, great music there. And the album title is?
Hearts broken, heads turned.
That's very good. I have to say, I really like Jarlath's latest one, Raw. That's definitely called Raw. That's
Yeah,
very good.
definitely.
That's great. Just a quick hello to a few other people. Hello, Jen from Alexandra, Virginia. And Gail saying Caught the Eyes was the first song she ever learned. And Heather saying that's a great song. It really is. So, Innes, thanks for being here today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
There's so many things we could have chatted about. I mean, you're going to be teaching at Tinto Summer School in July, and you are a great teacher. Do you enjoy teaching?
Yes, I like facilitating groups like that, in that kind of way where it's less formal. Although I'm a less formal teacher generally, but the one-on-one teaching gets really difficult for me in my head, because I have imposter syndrome, where I sit there and go, I shouldn't be here. They should be learning from someone else who's better equipped to deal with this, you know. But yeah, I'll do it from time to time now. I used to do it lots. I've taught at university and colleges as well in the past, and I will again when I'm feeling up to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know all the kids love working with you because every class is so much fun.
Yeah, I used to be a lot more, because I could switch on, you know, turn on and just be myself and be silly, but it starts to take chunks out of you, that kind of that working. So I've had to start reserving some energy for myself for after teaching, which makes me a lot more calm and collected now. But yeah, still fun, I hope.
Well, don't forget to visit Innes's Bandcamp page, inneswatson.bandcamp.com, for all of the releases. What's the next one that's coming out?
The next one, I've been chasing Bandcamp Friday for 3 weeks, trying to get a brand new tune called Tune Lack out. I might just release it today, stuff it. Do another one on Bandcamp Friday. Yeah.
Well, if we can get that one out soon, I'll play it on the podcast next Tuesday.
I'll do it today.
Excellent. Oh, it's exciting. Well, Innes, thanks very much for coming on today. It's been loads of fun, and I'll see you in July.
See you, if not before.
Actually, no, sorry. I'll see you on Friday.
See you Friday.
For our concerts, and that's handsupfortradmusicclub.co.uk. We would love to see you there. Right, thanks very much, everyone.